In today's video we're going to talk about Tyneham Village. Now it's a small village just outside Wareham in Dorset in the UK, and it was taken over by Churchill's War Cabinet back in 1943 for training for the Ministry of Defence in World War II. Now there was a promise given to the landowner, Brigadier Bond, that after the war it would be given back to him and the inhabitants could move back into their homes. After the war, however, it wasn't given back to the inhabitants. It was deemed by the Ministry of Defence that they needed to hold on to the land because they had built up training areas all the way around it, and it was now situated within a danger zone. Around about 1967, 1968, parts of one of the houses in the centre of the village was gifted to various lords as an attempt by the Ministry of Defence to preserve some of Tyneham. This was 2 years after the war had actually ended, and at that point they deemed that the village was too far past restoration. An article in the Times in 1968 states that the Ministry of Defence told Brigadier Bond what they were going to be doing with the house. His reply to them was that as he no longer owns the property, he had no authority over what the Ministry of Defence decided they wanted to do with it. The Ministry of Defence stated later that they thought it the best thing to do in order to preserve some of Tyneham, and that they consulted with Brigadier Bond, and at the time it had no objection to it. This may seem like a little bit of misinformation from the MOD, but Brigadier Bond also stated as well that he was glad that at least some of Tyneham was going to be preserved for the future. There have been many drives over the years for the village to be returned to the inhabitants, which in many people's views should have been done at the time, as the Ministry of Defence has said as much. There is a thought process that goes something like this. The village was a dying village, with the school closing in 1932, the village not having any running water, no electricity, and all the inhabitants of the village not actually owning any of their houses and having to pay the Bond family in order to live there. If the Ministry of Defence had have given the village back, it would have been to the Bond family and not the inhabitants of the houses, unless the Bond family had decided to reach out to them. The village now to go away from the ownership of the Ministry of Defence would be possible, but not practical, as an awful lot of investment would need to go into it. So this would be from the buildings of roads and sewers, the electricity and the water. And another impractical thing is that the village is now situated within a danger zone. Having the village open to the public now, with elements of it being preserved as a museum, is definitely in the right direction, away from having parts of the buildings taken away and given to lords for incorporation into their buildings. In hindsight, it would have been good if the Ministry of Defence at the time had kept their word and given the village back to the current inhabitants. But the actions of the MOD nowadays does seem to have been the right action. There is a lot more to this subject than the quick summary I've given. I've literally just scratched the surface. I will put some links to various pieces of information that I used in the description below. If you liked the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, all that jazz. But thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, I hope it was interesting, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.